So a couple of months ago we started talking about drivers that could be the next F1 superstars, and I wanted to elaborate on it a little bit more and look at some other drivers because I think we particularly focused on British drivers in that video, and I want to talk about them again, seeing how they're doing in 2018, and then also look at other people from other nationalities that are coming through the ranks. So let's start off with maybe the main two that are coming through the ranks, which is George Russell and Lando Norris. Firstly, George Russell, currently leading the Formula 2 Championship. I think a lot of us expected, including myself, for him to be battling for the championship. I maybe didn't quite expect him to be leading the championship and be far ahead of third place, or quite far ahead of third place. And he's been doing fantastic this season. Looks quite likely he will be racing in Formula 1 next season, most likely with the Williams team. At the time of the recording, nothing's been confirmed. It could be Force India, it could be someone else, but it's probably going to be one of those two, most likely, if he gets confirmed. But he's been fantastic this season in Formula 2. He's been very consistent. He's been getting quite a few victories, and he's just been really good at overtaking. Just every time I look at him, I'm like, this reminds me of like a young Lewis Hamilton. I know that sounds a bit silly, but like I see him, I look back at Lewis Hamilton's time in GP2, I'm like, these guys are pretty similar. In their first season of this particular series, back then it was GP2, now it's Formula 2, they just seem to be able to do anything they want on track. And yeah, I feel like there's a very strong likelihood he'll be in Formula 1 next season with maybe not quite as good a team as Lewis Hamilton in his first season. Williams or Force India, a decent midfield team, but not going to be able to go into Formula 1 and be a world beater like Lewis Hamilton straight away, unfortunately, because he just won't have the equipment underneath him. Obviously, Lando Norris as well, he's the main championship contender to George Russell in the Formula 2 Championship. Considering they're both rookies, yes, Lando Norris did 2 races at the end of Abu Dhabi last year, but that doesn't count in my opinion. They were just one-off races. But the fact they came in as rookies and managed to beat people that are in like their third or fourth season says a lot. It says a lot. And even though Nick De Vries is another McLaren young driver, as Lando Norris is, he sort of beat Nick De Vries quite comfortably in a lot of occasions here. And Lando Norris is in his first season of this sort of tier of car, whilst Nick De Vries is in maybe his third year, because he did Formula Renault 3.5, which was quite similarly paced to Formula 2 GP2. So Nick De Vries is more experienced in these sort of powerful cars. Lando Norris coming in and beating him straight away is very, very amazing, really, for a driver of his age as well. I think, is he 19? I think he's 19. I think George Russell might be 19 as well. So both of them quite a lot younger than me, 3 years younger than me, which is annoying because I'm like, what have I been doing with my life that I'm 3 years older than these guys and they're going to be in Formula 1 next year? Damn it. What could have been, eh? But yeah, basically these two guys, you need to definitely watch out for them over the next couple of months. I'm going to leave a link to all of these guys' social media down in the description of this video, so I think you should follow them. If you're interested in Formula 1, you want to follow up-and-coming drivers, I would highly recommend just following these guys, seeing what they're doing, because if you only watch Formula 1 and you don't really pay attention to these junior Formula, next year they might be not so much of a surprise to you if you know what they're about. So definitely next season you might be knowing a few inside facts about these drivers if you keep up to date with them on social media and watch the Formula 2, watch the GP3, watch the Formula 3 races, and even lower than that in BRDC F3 and maybe the even smaller championships like Formula 4. Just keep an eye out on these championships because you'll learn so much. So next up on my list is Marcus Armstrong, which I think is currently leading the Formula 3 European Championship. I'm just going to double check. Yes, he is leading the Formula 3 European Championship by 1 point currently as I record this video over Dan Tickton, which we'll talk about later. But Marcus Armstrong, I think he's Australian or is he New Zealand? No, he's New Zealand. From New Zealand, sorry. I know that's, yeah, we don't want to mix those two up because I know there's some rivalry there. But he's from New Zealand. I think he races under an Italian license or something because he's down as Italian on here. That's what got me confused at first because I was like, I know he's not Italian. So Marcus Armstrong is definitely someone to be watching out for. He's in the Ferrari Young Driver program as well. He could be someone you'll be seeing in Formula 2 next year. We probably won't be seeing him in Formula 1 next year. That's just because there aren't really any seats available. But when you think about it, there's a likelihood, or not really a likelihood, but there's a possibility of Alfa Romeo are struggling to find someone to put in that seat if they want to not put in Giovinazzi or Kvyat, or they want to get rid of Ericsson. They might even put Armstrong in. I don't know whether he's going to have enough super license points, but he possibly could be an option for Sauber over the next couple of seasons. So keep an eye out for Marcus Armstrong. He's a driver that's been doing fantastic in Formula 3 this season in his debut year. And also Dan Ticknam in that same series, only 1 point behind Marcus Armstrong right now. The next round is actually Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time, supporting the World Endurance Championship, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to be able to see these guys in action once again. So going on to home turf, possibly Dan Ticknam could take the lead of the championship. A Red Bull young driver linked to Toro Rosso for next season. Looks like he probably won't get the seat just because he hasn't got a super license, which is unfortunate, but there might be a way that they can get a super license for him, and especially if he wins this championship, beats the likes of Marcus Armstrong, beats the like of other people in the championship like Ralph Aron, Zhu, sorry, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce his first name, the Chinese driver Zhu, obviously beating people like Deruvela, Ahmed and Schumacher. Mick Schumacher hasn't been doing too good this season, but he did get a win recently at Spa. So to be able to beat some of these calibre of drivers is pretty awesome, and especially in your first season as well, when a couple of these drivers are definitely in their second season of this tier. So I think, yeah, both Armstrong and Ticknam and a couple of other people in Formula 3 European Championship, just keep an eye out for them over the next couple of seasons, because they might not be in Formula 1 next season in 2019, but there's a likelihood possibly going forward into 2020, 2021, you might be seeing these guys as reserve drivers or possibly even race drivers in Formula 1. Next up, we'll talk about a GP3 driver, and it's someone that surprised me quite a bit in his first season. That's Nikita Mazepin. Now, I remember watching him in some of the other junior Formula that he raced in before, and I was pretty impressed, of course, but then going into GP3 this season, he's been pretty impressive once again. I'll get up the facts once again to see. Oh no, I've not got it. But basically, he's a driver that is only, I think, 18 years old, a bit like a lot of people at this sort of level of motorsport, like the third tier, I guess you'd say. He's a driver that really has impressed me this season because he's had the pace, and I think more importantly, sadly, in this time of Formula 1, is that he's got a big sponsorship backing behind him, obviously from Russia. They want to definitely get some more Russian drivers into the sport, and I feel like there's a likelihood over the next couple of seasons we could see Nikita Mazepin rising through the ranks. He's the Force India reserve driver. I'm not sure that will change going into next season, but he's going to be a reserve driver of some F1 team next season, that's for sure. And I think he's had a bit of an unlucky season this year, but he's already clocked up 2 victories and a few other podiums as well. He's only about 30 points off the championship leader, Antoine Hubert, who's in his second season of GP3. Second place is Callum Ide, which we'll talk about in a minute. He's in his second season of sort of this tier. He raced in F3 last year. So, to be fair, he's doing a pretty good job. And obviously with the substantial backing behind him, there's quite a strong likelihood we'll see Nikita Mazepin racing in Formula 1 in the next couple of seasons. Of course, being Russian as well, they want to get those drivers, or they want to get some more Formula 1 drivers into the sport. Obviously, we've seen people like Petrov, who wasn't too successful, but then we had Kvyat, who was a bit more successful, and then obviously most recently we've got Sorokin, who's obviously struggled in a slow car. So I think if someone like Mazepin gets in the right car, there's a likelihood possibly we could see him being pretty strong, because I think, was he 18? I'm going to double check. I want to make sure. Oh, he's 19 years of age right now, but he did race last year in F3 and the year before that in other F3 championships. So he's got quite a lot of experience, and to be a rookie in GP3 is always quite tough, but then to come in and be as good as he is straight away, it kind of surprised me. So I think Nikita Mazepin is definitely someone you want to watch out for over the next couple of seasons, as is Callum Ide. He's also sponsored by the Ferrari Young Driver Program, or he's a part of the Ferrari Young Driver Program, I should say, not really sponsored, but he's a guy that's obviously from Great Britain, who's someone that could be rising through the ranks most likely over the next couple of years. He's 15 points behind the championship leader here, 19 years of age as well. Last year raced in the Formula 3 Championship, did a couple of off races in the Formula 2 Championship, but he's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years. He raced in 3 years in Formula 3, and he's been doing that, since 15, 16 years of age. So he's been in this sort of tier of motorsport for quite a long time here, Callum Ide. But he's always been very consistent. He's always been very fast. Hasn't always had the rub of the green, meaning he hasn't always got the results, but he's been very, very good at this sort of level. So maybe just seeing next season where we can make that step up to Formula 2. And being part of the Ferrari Young Driver Program is probably a bit daunting, but let's see what he can do going forward, Callum Ide. I think the talent's there. We just need to see him now in a Formula 2 car and see how good he is, because he's currently P2 in the championship, behind Antoine Hubert. I think it'll be quite close going forward. 4 rounds, 8 races to go in this season. So if you haven't watched GP3, look at it, guys. It's a really, really good series and lots of good racing in it. And yeah, I'd definitely say keep an eye out for it for the rest of the season, because some of these guys could be in Formula 2 next season, or I'll say quite a few of them might be in Formula 2 next season, but then more importantly, Formula 1 in the seasons ahead. So finally, I want to talk about 3 drivers that I was lucky enough to speak to at Brands Hatch a couple of weeks ago. Most likely when this video goes up, it would have been a couple of weeks ago. But they're 3 drivers that really have a strong likelihood of going up in the ranks over the next couple of seasons. And we could even see them going into the Formula 3 proper next season, Formula 2 possibly, we'll see. But I'll start off with Linus Lindquist, a driver from Sweden. He's been very quick this season in his first year of BRDC Formula 3. It supports the British GT Championship as well, so it's quite a big championship all coming together. There's a very competitive field of drivers, and Linus Lindquist is leading the championship in his first season quite convincingly over some other drivers who haven't been able to quite maximise the potential of themselves this season. I'd say maybe in Formula 3. And yeah, Linus Lindquist, I had the great opportunity to speak to him. I might make a little short video with him and the other 2 people in this video I'm going to be talking about, because they gave me some great answers for this documentary I'm making, and I want to share them with you guys. So I might even put them in a separate video, or might put them at the end of this video. I'll decide when I'm editing to see what sort of works best. But yeah, Linus Lindquist, a driver that's very, very quick in BRDC F3, and I think he said the plan was for him to race in the new Formula 3 GP3 Championship next year. Basically, Formula 3 is taking over the name of GP3, so obviously there's going to be F1, F2 and F3 all racing in the same weekend, so it's going to be like a Formula 3 World Championship, and I guess you're still going to have the Formula 3 European Championship. The people like Mick Schumacher or Callum Ide, Mick Schumacher, Dan Ticktum, Marcus Armstrong, they're all racing in the season. So it's going to be confusing next season, but I think there's going to be a European and a World Formula 3 Championship, and I think he's planning to hopefully move up to that if he gets the sponsors behind him. So definitely, if you're interested in sponsoring a driver, him or the next 2 drivers I'm going to talk about, definitely worth considering sponsoring. So Linus Lindquist definitely got the potential to be racing in Formula 1 one day. The talent is so obviously there, as it is with Jamie Caroline as well. He's not actually, well, sadly for him, he's not had the funding to go ahead and race full-time in BRDC F3 this season, even though he won the British Formula 4 Championship last year that supports the British Touring Car Championship. He wasn't able to secure funding for this season, which is just devastating. A driver that wins the F4 Championship can't go ahead and race further because he just doesn't have the funding to him. So more than anyone I say in this video, someone that deserves funding that doesn't have any is Jamie Caroline. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the funds to do a full season in Formula 3 this season, so he's sort of been a bit lucky, I guess, with another driver, I think, having an illness or having some other commitments, meaning that he got to race in BRDC Formula 3 with Carl in this season. He's already picked up 2 race victories in his 2 rounds, which is incredible. So out of 6 races, he's already won 2 of them, and I think he's been on the podium on 1 other occasion. So he's basically had over a 50% podium rating in his first 6 races, which is pretty crazy, and it's a competitive field. So to have to jump in mid-season and battle with the top guys and win it and beat the top guys straight away is pretty incredible. So Jamie Caroline, someone that if he gets the funding for next season, whatever championship that may be in, he's probably going to win it. He's so talented, another British driver. So if you want to check these guys out, as I said, the links are in the description. Just go and give these guys the support. And, if you have any idea of anyone that might want to sponsor these drivers, just advise them to go over here and look at BRDC F3. There's so many talented drivers, and especially Jamie Caroline, someone that doesn't have any sponsors really to his name right now, or not enough sponsors to race full time. Just go and sponsor him. He's very good. So lastly, we're going to talk about Manuel Maldonado, the cousin of obviously ex-F1 driver Pastor Maldonado. He's been much more consistent in his most recent season of British Formula 3, and of course he's got the family behind him as well in terms of his sponsorship. So it looks like Manuel might get the step up to maybe Formula 3 European or World Championship next season, which I'm looking forward to. He's a very talented driver, but unfortunately the Brands Hatch round, which I went and saw, it's kind of hard to overtake, so he was sort of stuck in the position where he qualified, and yeah, not much overtaking happened on the Grand Prix loop, sadly, on the Sunday when I went. But Manuel has been much more consistent in this most recent season. As I said, he's picked up a couple of race victories, quite a few podiums as well, so I think we'll see Manuel moving up the ranks over the next couple of seasons, and it's going to be exciting to see whether he can make the step up. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below who you think is going to be the next Lewis Hamilton. Is it going to be Norris? Is it going to be Russell? Or going to be someone else? Ilott? Caroline? Let me know in the comment section down below. So thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys around soon. Goodbye.